Jesse, you're just going to present the notes for our agenda.
Gotta clean up my tabs.
Also, as an overview, we, depending on how much we have to talk, I'm not sure how much there is necessarily for us to discuss today. On the Google side, we don't have many agenda items that we need to discuss. So we may have a shorter meeting than usual and give everyone some time back.
Yeah, please record attendance. The only thing I had on the agenda right now was the face-to-face meeting timing on the thread that SIG Federation was CC'd on. It seemed like at least the core folks that were saying they absolutely needed to be there. August 8th, which is a Tuesday, seemed to line up for everybody. So if any objections to doing that? Going once? Going twice? Oh, Quentin dialed in. Okay, so I'll update the invitation for August 8th, and we'll start moving forward with details for that. I'll send out an invite and work out all the logistics on our side. So, cool.
Excellent. I see that Christian added another agenda item, testing resources for deploy full jobs.
Right. So I was on call this past week, and we had kind of three distinct events to handle on the Federation side. None of which were caused by bugs in Federation, but are kind of side effects because of how we run our test infrastructure. It's much more complicated for us than any of the other SIGs. This is not necessarily apparent for anybody outside Federation, so as soon as nobody can get their PRs to merge and it shows red for Federation, we're asked to fix the issue. Right now, I guess we spent the last quarter or so putting in a lot of work so that we could move to blocking. The state of the actual end-to-end testing is very good in itself, but there are bits that make it a bit fragile, especially when there are bugs that are introduced. In this case, it was a bug that was introduced in the networking and SIG networking. SIG networking did not have coverage for that particular bug, but we did. But it appeared as if Federation had an issue, so we had to backtrack. And since we only test on what I would call older clusters, so we test on clusters that are deployed from midnight. So sometimes the bug will appear basically offset by a few hours, so it's harder to track down. So there are improvements that can be made there, but I was wondering, and this is kind of a discussion that I had started with Quentin over email, whether there are people who had resources they could throw at the problem. I don't know, Quentin, if you're available to speak. I know you're online.
And to clarify, Christian, for the notes, so it's like the actual direct Federation tests are in good shape, but tests where it interacts with other groups like networking are problematic?
Yeah, what's problematic is actually it's the interaction between the deploy job and the pull job. So to kind of restate, so I should specify that we have an on-call document that Madhu put together that explains all of this. So anybody who's on call should definitely familiarize themselves with it. But now we're in a position where there's instances where it could be fragile enough that we have to kind of make sure that everybody in Kubernetes familiarizes themselves with at least part of this, which is not what we want to do because we don't want it to be fragile. So to try to summarize, we deploy clusters every day at 8 a.m. Because deploying 3 clusters takes about 50 minutes. So that would mean if you want to test Federation, the Federation test suite on every PR would run for 50 minutes plus however much time it takes to run Federation tests. So the way to amortize that is we deploy three clusters every day at 8 a.m. And the PR testing is exclusively bring up Federation control plan and run the Federation tests. And that only that part takes 25 minutes, and that's acceptable for testing PRs. The issue happens since we're only recycling essentially those clusters once a day. We're only testing against the core Kubernetes as is from the 8 a.m. deploy job. So if a bug is introduced in core Kubernetes and it's not caught by any existing tests, like was the case for a networking bug, then it will only appear once Federation sees it, potentially the next day at 8 a.m. So in this case, we were on call to try to fix the Federation issue, which turned out to be a networking issue. So it just puts more pressure on us needlessly. And right now the code base isn't changing a lot. So every time we kind of look at ourselves in suspicion, we're kind of pretty sure that it's not a Federation issue because there's not much movement in the code base, but it's still on us to kind of seek out and help identify others fix their bugs. Just kind of an anchor.
Yeah, Christian, question here. I'm on an airplane right now, so I'm not going to be able to talk without headphones. You have to come under the plane.
Okay, yeah, I can hear just enough to know that you're not in a good position to talk. But okay, I mean, I think at this point the issue is fairly well understood. We have three Googlers on call. We have Maru on call, and I think we have Shashi and Irfan maybe. But it would be good if somebody else could work on the infrastructure portion, which is the interaction between the deploy and the test jobs, to just make that process a little bit better, so it's not such a burden for people on call.
So, Christian, this is Irfan. So what you are saying is that there is some work probably that might be needed in adding some more test cases or updating some infrastructure suite, which might be able to catch these kind of problems faster or easier. Is that what you are indicating at?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying is if we can do something like find a way to maybe recycle clusters more often and have maybe parallel jobs of recycle plus triggers on the PR tests. Basically just a bit more parallelism. The issue comes that the deploy portion, and if while you're deploying a cluster somebody tries to test their PR, it's going to fail. So there's some form of locking that has to be done there. So it's essentially infrastructure code that has to be written.
Okay. So for now, what I can at least commit is I was not part of this on call so far. So maybe I could be added to that. I don't have much exposure to this infrastructure and the related tests. However, Shashi has. So I'll try to get some knowledge from him. And maybe a week later or so, I could also be part of that on-call weekly stuff. And we would, I think, Quentin, Shashi, and if there are one or two other guys who are partly part of this Federation SIG. So we'll have some discussion internally, and we'll try to reach out to you to figure out if there is some solution we can propose or there is something we can do about it. In the meantime, if you already have some suggestion or proposal, you can certainly, drop that to us.
Yeah, I have some ideas. I would suggest that the 5 of us get together and figure out the details, so that and anyone else who wants to be part of that. But basically, Quentin, Shashi, Irfan, Christian, and Madhu, plus anyone else who wants to join.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't quite get that list of folks. I got Quentin.
Quinton, Shashi, Irfan, Christian, and Madhu.
Did I spell Shashi here?
Yeah, that's SHA, SHI.
SHASHI.
Yeah, and it's great if we can add you to the on-call rotation. Right now there's 6 people, so your chance comes in like once in 1.5 months, once in 6 weeks. So we can add you and your rotation will come after 6 weeks.
Okay. And Quinton also mentioned if anybody else who wants to volunteer, their name can also be in this.
There's also a link to the playbook in the notes, so you can read that doc to understand what you need to do to be an on-call.
Sure. That's what I said. I'll do my homework, and if there is something else that is needed, then I'll try to disturb anybody. Maybe not.
All right, thanks, Irfan.
Sure.
Guys, I'm about to be cut off here. I just want to make sure that Deepak was here and to bring up the authorization.
Yeah, Quentin, I'll take care of that. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so I have a couple of items I wanted to bring it up. So, Christian, you after you're done, let me know. Then I have a couple of items I want to bring it up.
Go ahead, I'm done.
Okay, so this is the email I sent out to Nikhil actually. Nikhil, this is regarding the Federation Auth, the design document. I remember you sent out about 6 months ago, and I know there were a bunch of iterations going on, and you had some interaction with the Auth SIG as well. So we wanted to find out, because this is important for us actually. We're planning to roll out a production release by October kind of a time frame. And we would like to see where we are and, see if we can collaborate or work with somebody's already working on that.
Yeah. So as you can see, I have the doc, and there are some, I've discussed it with Sigurd, and there are a list of few open issues that we need to resolve. So probably if someone from Huawei wants to take over. And I saw Quinton also added a bunch of comments last night. And Jordan was my main point of contact from Sigurd, from Red Hat. And I see he also replied to some of the comments from Quinton. So he's active on the doc, and we can probably start with discussing it. You can add comments on the doc and we can work with him, or we can just go and present it in Sigurd again.
Okay. So you'll still be involved in it though?
I might not be as fully involved. I can help out with like the questions you have,
okay,
and the existing comments on the doc, and summarizing the current list of open issues. But it would be good if someone else can like take a lead and work with.
Sure. So have you already presented that to Auth SIG before, or this is the first time we're going to do that?
No, we've already done that. And if you look at the issue, I've posted a link to the YouTube video where the recording is, so you can look at the recording and see what the main concerns were.
Okay, good.
And there's also a summary of the open issues on the issue.
Great. Okay, good. Yeah, I think this is important though. This was one of the item which was brought up by Maru as well as a foundational item. If you want to do a GA, make Federation GA. So this is one of the items, and this is a requirement from our customer as well. So we'll look at it, and we definitely want to work with you, Nikhil and whoever, to get this thing going actually.
Yeah.
So that was one. The other thing was we had this federated job, not proposal, the PR, and it was LGTM before. I see John Hui on the call. Actually, he's the owner of that PR, and then he ended up rebasing it for some reason. I don't know what the reason was, and because of that rebase, the LGTM is needed again. That somebody can do that, so that we can proceed with the federated jobs process.
Yeah, I think it was assigned to Quinton, and he did LGTM.
Yeah, I can do that. Sorry, I must have slipped. I don't think it was assigned to me, but I'll fix it.
Okay.
No, I think one pending authorization or approval needed is for hacks. So that PR did get approved completely, and only because there was no approval for hacks folder, it was still pending.
No, yeah, so that was one issue. The other issue was he rebased, Janhui did rebasing, and then I got an email as well, actually, saying that it needs to be LGTM'd again because there's been change to PR.
Yeah, the reason of the rebase was because it was not merged, and even after Quinton did LGTM it. You get my point.
Oh,
So somebody who is the owner of hacks also need to.
Okay, I see. Okay. Well, in any case, I think looks like the LGTM is gone. So yeah, so I'll talk to Quinton and hopefully we'll get that done.
If you need hack/approval, I can do that. Or Shashi has hack/approval as well.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, great. Thanks. That's it from my side.
Yeah, generally if the PR is LGTM and approved and you're waiting for some specific approvals and it's been a few days, you can directly ping someone on Slack and ask for approval. If
Sure.
it's just approval you're waiting for.
Sure, great, thanks. So Irfan, did you, the HPA thing, so you're in that same state as well though, isn't it? The federated HPA thing, is that waiting for some review process stuff and all that, or we need to kind of escalate it, bring it up to Nikhil, whoever?
The review, right? So I got some comments from Christian, I got some comments from Jonathan, and I have updated. So that's like a process that's going on.
Okay. Good. That's it from my side. Thanks.
Just one other thing worth mentioning is that the read access to all API types is mostly done. I don't know if Gianni can talk, but the implementation is done.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up to discuss? Going once? Going twice? All right. Well, in that case, I think we can end 37 minutes early. Sweet. Of course, if anything comes up, we can always feel free to send out an email. We can always chat over email, especially now that the meetings are bi-weekly again. More of that would probably be good rather than waiting for this to necessarily talk about, especially for blocking things. I think emails be good for that if you're just blocked on something small or the Slack channel rather than waiting for this meeting. Cool. All right, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.